Thank you so much for that, Kim. By far the best introduction welcome I've ever had, so thank you so much. But it really, really does give me great joy to be here today. And just like Glasgow, Sheffield has also got a very proud, rich history in having radical ideas. Over the last 300 years, the people of Sheffield, just like the people of Glasgow, have come together to try and change the world over and over again. And it's just amazing that we share that commonality, and it's a real joy for me to be here today. Friends, I wanted to start off my speech by sharing with you a letter. A letter sent to me not so long ago. And I received numerous messages of a similarly vile nature, primarily on social media, and yet nothing shook me to my core as this. It reads, Magid the monkey, you aren't worthy to suck the S out of Trump's. You are an N-word, your 8 parents are N-words, F you, eat S and die. It wasn't the graphically racist nature of the slurs, and it wasn't the reference to the embodiment of all that is wrong with the world in Trump. And it even wasn't the violent mention of my family, as I had become desensitized to such abuse. It was a sickening, shocking fact that the letter was signed off with Joe Cox, the pride of Yorkshire, who embodied humanity and kindness. The type of humanity that is not only rare in politics, but in society. We continue to mourn her loss, but let's be real. What she suffered was no tragedy at all. This was far-right terror. And it made me think. Our response since has been inadequate at best, but in truth, non-existent. From North America to Europe, the far right aren't coming. And as a consequence of the crisis of capitalism, passive politicians, and normalizations at the hands of the establishment media, they are very much here. The enemies of democracy and the enemies of minorities are one. And their education and radicalization isn't just carried out in secret forums, on private Facebook groups, on YouTube channels, or on the dark web. Let's face it, it's being carried out in plain sight, on newspapers and articles printed and published by the far-right press. They are the ones that are normalizing hate when they attack and vilify minorities and vulnerable people. What is it about me that angers the establishment? It's simple. As a Lord Mayor, I have been inspired by the simple philosophy of doing things differently. And as a result of that, I have brought local, national, and even international engagement to the role. Using it to draw awareness to important causes and bring people together in a world that is trying to divide us apart. Yes, I do ruffle the right feathers. Yes, I do ask difficult questions. Yes, I do things differently and remind the sleepy establishment of the radical and disruptive power of the Green Party for positive change. And I've been clear all along, we must continuously question tradition and the dangerous policies, and common sense must prevail. Sadly, our system is broken. You just have to look around you to see that. We've got rising inequality, rising poverty, failing public services, and yet more distrust of policymakers and decision makers than ever before. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, "Whosoever of you sees an injustice, then let them change it with their hand. And if they aren't able to do so, then let them change it with their tongue. And if they aren't able to do so, then let them change it with their hearts." It is not our duty and responsibility to passively act out the norm and tradition. We must be proactive and adaptable, and we must be fit for purpose. If what is current does not work, we must not be afraid to challenge it, to break it down and build something that works. And those that peddle hate show disdain for ordinary people. For every racist, abusive message I have received hundreds of beautiful messages. I have had hundreds of beautiful conversations with beautiful people on the streets of my beautiful city of Sheffield and beyond. When the far right gathered enough confidence between themselves to start a petition to remove me, they only got 47 signatures. The counter petition launched to support me got nearly 20,000 signatures. It is the people of Sheffield and Green Party members, supporters all over the UK who are with me in every campaign, in every interview, in every opportunity and platform presented to me that I'm really thankful for. It is very much in the fibre of my being and identity, and I felt compelled to use my position in any way possible to promote and raise awareness of injustices such as the All Grieve Truth and Justice campaign, and to write to Sajid Javid and demand an inquiry and justice for the All Grieve miners and their families who have suffered all these years since their brutal attack and treatment at the hands of the state in 1984. My role has given me the opportunity to show the relevance of politics to people's everyday lives. And I believe that politics doesn't exclusively belong to the rich, comfortable elite who are sat in lavish offices in the top of ivory towers. I believe that politics must be made accessible for absolutely everyone. And I try and live by that belief every day and in everything that I do. Poor representation in politics breeds mistrust and the lack of respect. Conversely, diverse representation in politics builds tolerance and understanding. And if I'm being honest with you, one of the reasons I've gathered so much attention in my role as Lord Mayor is probably down to a failed democracy. If we look at those who are meant to lead us, whether that be in local government to national governments, they do not reflect the people that they are meant to represent. Even if we look at our national government cabinets, who are responsible for running our country and making decisions for all of us, they are all pretty much a bunch of millionaires. So it baffles me to think, how on earth are they meant to understand what child poverty is, or truly understand the devastating effects of austerity? That's why it's more important now than ever to have more diverse people in politics, whether that be more people from the LGBTQI plus community, more people of colour, more women and disabled people. The role that I'm currently in offers me the opportunity to highlight injustices and to provide a platform for the voiceless. Locally, whether that's the autocratic behaviour of heartless politicians with a love for PFIs, who even attempted to imprison a fellow Green councillor. Her crime was speaking truth to power. A bloodthirstiness for the local environment and a disdain for democracy and grassroots politics, who go missing when confronted with the much-feared spectre of accountability. One of the many reasons that made me want to stand as a councillor and put myself forward as Lord Mayor was because, first of all, I was just tired of complaining. But also, I wanted to do something to combat the rhetoric of hate, fear and division that I was witnessing in 2014, which was the rise of UKIP in the European elections. So I decided I wanted to play more of an active role in my community, because with everything that was happening around the world, I thought if I could at least make my small part of the world, Sheffield, my ward, my community, that much better, and make people's lives that bit better, that's me playing my part. And it is with that compassion that led me to where I am today. And then there's that giant orange waste man. As you may know, I caused a bit of a stir by banning Donald Trump from Sheffield and declaring that day of his visit as Mexico Solidarity Day. Which was commemorated by dozens of social spaces and eateries that provided such things as free tequila, enchiladas, as well as community groups getting together to raise awareness of the struggles faced in Central America by the hands of Trump. Before I knew it, the phrase Donald Trump is a waste man went viral. It was plastered all over London in preparation of his visit. People selling T-shirts, baby growths printed with the slogan, and I found myself even answering questions on CNN, Channel 4, and many different international media outlets about why rolling the red carpet for Donald Trump not only was ridiculous, but was dangerous, as it was legitimizing everything that he stood for. Banning the Donald Trump was a light-hearted stunt, but in many ways was absolutely serious. We cannot hold hands with the far right and those who embolden them, as this government does. Trump and the politics he represents threatens the very existence of safety of minorities. It threatens global security. Just look at his and our government's support for the continued injustice in Palestine and Yemen. It threatens the very future of our planet. You're all too aware of the archaic and destructive industries that he bolsters and his attitudes to climate agreements. Let's be clear, and let me be clear, we must absolutely no platform fascists. We must shut the door in the face of hate, division and intolerance. We must stamp it out and fight against it all around the world. And we must fight the dark possibility of a dangerous, racist Boris Johnson walking into number 10 right here in the UK. And as I utter these words, it really does make me sick to the teeth of being told that I shouldn't be too political, I shouldn't rock the boat. I'm sorry, but I don't have that privilege. Have you seen me? I'm a black Muslim immigrant. Have you seen the racism at the heart of this government? From Windrush, the hostile environments, the go-home vans, to the dog whistle rhetoric surrounding the Brexit negotiations? Do you think I can just opt out of being political? Would my silence be fair on my black siblings who have faced and continue to face generations of suffering, alienation and marginalization? I don't think so. We cannot afford to keep our heads buried in the sand. Yes, we do live in a polarized world where raging fascism and impending catastrophic climate disaster threaten our very existence. This is not a time that I nor you can afford to be silent. Yesterday, I gave a talk in Oxford around the theme of compassion in politics. And I truly believe that if it wasn't compassion that drove you into politics, then you're in the wrong line of work. The values embodied by a green vision and green politics aren't just found in the job description of ideal politicians. They are very much part of our duty as individuals and human beings and our collective society. We must be people who are willing to be the change they want to see in the world. As some of you may be aware, one of my first public broadcasts was a campaign called Immigrants Make Britain Great. It's one of the issues that is very personal to me and that I champion a lot. I, alongside my family, was forced to flee war and misery that had consumed our home. And now, in what has become my home, I will fight tooth and nail to ensure that that misery does not consume these lands too. It should be part of our jobs as citizens to recognize when these sorts of fears are being pitched to us, as they are made of nothing but cardboard. Yes, we do face huge problems in the UK, problems old and new, that can be influenced by good policy, good people, and good strategy. But so much of the fear we have been fed is no more real than a Doctor Who episode. They have to say our country is losing, because a country that is strong digs deep, not into creating a hostile environment and dehumanizing others, but into civic service, altruism, into openness and understanding, and into collaboration, and most of all, showing compassion, as compassion is the ultimate manifestation of strength. And it is with that compassion and strength that I see coming out of you, the Scottish Greens, that inspires not just me, but all Greens up and down this country. And we must fight for the radical transformation we are in vital need of. The radical transformation, that radical change right here in Scotland, will hopefully be one step closer when the green vision of a devolved migration is implemented. Devolved migration gives the opportunity for a truly fair system in the here and now. And as we already know, migration is currently enriching and is massively strengthening the Scottish economy and public services such as the NHS. Scotland relies on migration far more than the rest of the UK. So keeping these powers reserved to Westminster and under the control of a Tory government that is hell-bent on inflicting self-harm to appease its own hard right wing makes little to no sense. Scotland is ready and isn't waiting for anybody. Friends, let's not forget our movement is international. It is inextricably linked with all, wherever they may be, while fighting against impending climate disaster, against the vices of a free market capitalism, against the terror of borders and rhetoric of the far right. It is indeed internationalism that drives our green climate vision. Global warming, climate change, and the catastrophes and destructive shifts that accompany them do not stop at borders. And if I'm being honest, it's all nice and well as I stand before you here today as the Lord Mayor of Sheffield. But I'd be lying if I said I've achieved what I have through hard work alone. As we know, hard work alone doesn't get you far enough. There of course needs to be hard work, but also sacrifice and opportunity. That's why me being Lord Mayor is as much of a success about so many other people, including yourselves, as it is about me. Because had it not been for the sacrifice of my mother, friends who grounded me, the people of Sheffield who voted for me, and the Green Party members all across the country who have shown unwavering support, this story would not have been told. And it is so important that we support and give spaces to others. I remember I was the only Green councillor in my ward for 2 years. And last year I made it my sole mission to get another Green councillor elected in my ward. And I'm proud to say that we got Kaltoum Rivers, a refugee mother of 4, elected in May, where we gained a seat from Labour. And finally, I just want to end with a story. The story of a young girl in Belgium. Her name is Sarah. And she messaged me in June to say that she looked up to me and my public success as a councillor and subsequent Lord Mayor inspired her. She said she was undergoing a similar struggle to get elected as a Belgian councillor. Last week, I was a little grumpy, feeling alone and slightly in despair. Then I received a message, and then another. It was Sarah. She had been elected as a councillor. And I was so happy, and in that moment, it put everything into perspective. These glimpses of light amid the darkness are evidence of another better world, through not individual stories scattered, but our collective stories united. And we can and will build a better world. Thank you very much.